On today's Minute of the Apes, I am really enjoying the Shiner Sea Salt and Lime Summer Lager. That is a tongue twister. I didn't even realize that until I started saying it.
It's a tongue twister and a tongue sucker because it sucks.
I love it. Todd hates it.
Oh, and I need to eat it with a chip.
There you go.
They greenlit the sequel without a story in mind. They just wanted to equal an unexpected gold mine. He said, oh no, as Heston said, I got to go. These are just some of the facts you ought to know as we go. Beneath the Minute of the Apes. Beneath the Minute of the Apes. Beneath the Minute of the Apes.
The only good human is a dead human.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd. Are you guys Richard and Sean?
I'll be Sean again.
Last I checked, wait a minute.
Hey.
Yep.
What I should have done was... and you could say, I'm Richard.
Who are you?
I'm
Richard.
What? Who am I? I'm Sean.
Who are you?
I don't know who I am. I'm having an existential crisis right now. All right, minute 62 of Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Tell us what's going on, Sean.
All right, we're going to start minute 62 with Brent saying he and Taylor were from this planet and ends with Brent writhing in pain.
Let's roll the minute.
Taylor. Well, from this planet, but from another time, 2,000 years ago.
I know it sounds insane.
And it's my insanity.
No, I don't know how to get back. We came through a defect, a slippage in time.
That's what must have happened to Taylor. I'm sure he tried to get back.
As my skipper's dead, I'm alone.
Who? Nova? What's that? Some star, a galaxy? What's Nova?
All right, as of minute 62, we have 3 living humans, a psychor telepath, 4 dead humans, 1 dead ape, a shrewdness of apes, and a gaggle of humans. And my first question on here, and we answered it yesterday, was can Brent see the projection of Taylor? So I guess he can if he had turned around.
It's a weird convention. So they're using visual thought projection to project a thought onto a wall that they can all see. But can't they already communicate telepathically? They should be able to. But I guess this is just for the audience.
Yeah.
More than anything else. That also goes back to make me wonder what was happening earlier, because it looked like they were watching them walk through the wall because it wasn't from somebody else's eyes.
Yeah, that's what we talked about that last week. It's like, what is the point of view? Can they just pull up anything and see it, or does somebody have to be there and they have to see through that person?
This was Google Glass before Google Glass ever happened. It was just the ability to kind of, I see it, I think it, I'd say it.
It was Skype 1.0.
It was Skype. You know what? It was Skype 0.25.
Yeah. So
Brent early on has a statement about a slippage in time. And he calls it a defect. Is a slippage in time a defect? Is it an anomaly, a distortion? But how is a slippage in time a defect?
It goes back to the whole thing of we don't know what the original mission was for Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what Brent's mission was, except for to rescue Taylor, but how were they going to get back?
You know, and all the time we've talked about this, and we've said before we didn't know what Brent's mission truly was. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about how do you start this film? How do you get new information? Why couldn't they have started it
in the past?
In the past, where they're rushing to get him on a ship. You've got to go. We believe he's going to hit this. And if you get the, and create that urgency of him trying to blast off and leave.
Or something like, we've been tracking Taylor's ship, and it's not. We can't get a signal from him anymore. It's not
anything
returning
like that.
Anything. You need to go out and find out what's going on. And the rescue mission was not necessarily going to the future. The rescue mission was to help him in the past.
Right.
Both of them got sucked into the future because
when they had a rescue mission, they obviously didn't know that he would hit the Hassline thingy and,
curve.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the word curve. They didn't know what he would hit. They didn't know that would occur.
I mean, they knew
there was something that they needed rescuing from.
Yeah, they knew that they were sending Taylor into the future. We knew that was part of the plan, although we still don't.
But that's the relative future because I don't think their absolute thought was to send him into the future. They knew that they were going to essentially hit the speed of light, and therefore it was the future.
Mm-hmm. But I think maybe it was something like they lost the signal, so we got to go find out what's going on.
But so you would think that they would do that that's the baseline of it. You at least create that character. They're doing it, and
that would involve sets and more money and time. And
you may be right.
Cheaped out on this, anyways.
Yeah.
So I guess he's kind of summarizing things that we know from this planet, but from another time, 2,000 years ago. Did Brent find out that it was 2,000 years ago?
I know that I had that other thing here saying.
Did Brent know that was the date?
Yeah, because don't you remember the discrepancy of dates when he's talking to Skipper?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, he does. Okay, so he has the dates. But from another time, 2,000 years ago, I know it sounds insane. He puts his head in his hands.
To which I thought, so he thinks it's more insane that he's from 2,000 years ago than telepaths and talking monkeys.
Right. The direction for the Inquisitors is they smile benevolently at this notion.
But they don't.
They don't.
No, they don't.
They don't at all. They don't react. He says, no, I don't know how to get back.
Move.
We came through a defect, a kind of slippage in time. That must have happened to Taylor. I'm sure he tried to get back. My skipper's dead. I'm all alone. And I have to wonder at this point, because they're so not affected by what he's saying, that they must have had the same conversation with Taylor. Right?
Right.
I can see that.
Because otherwise, if I heard this insane stuff from a guy who says, hey, I know this sounds insane, but I'm from a different time period, et cetera, I'm also a talking human, so I should stand out to you differently because
nobody else.
I'm not coming from the jungle. And I'm talking about crazy concepts like time and spaceships and astronauts.
I was going to say, the moment you throw out the term astronaut, if these people are 2,000 years in the future
worshipping an atomic bomb,
do they even know what an astronaut is? Because have the textbooks and whatnot
been lost? And
right? Didn't they burn up? Is there a chance they wouldn't know? And so, without them having questioned Taylor before and gotten that concept in their minds, then it's a.
But technically, if they're telepaths, couldn't they read his mind and find out what an astronaut is?
I guess. They don't explore it because telepathy at this point is projected video and throwing thoughts in your mind.
I'm guessing, telepathy is one way. I can put stuff in your mind, not necessarily I can read your mind.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
We don't see anything where they're pulling a thought from him.
Yeah, because he answers everything out loud.
Right.
I really didn't understand why he put his head in his hands. When he says that, and when he says that, I know it sounds insane. I'm going to put my head in my hands.
Because the skipper's dead, that's why.
So there are some weird directions to me that are given to him where you think about the crescendos of a performance, because eventually in this minute he's going to get asked about Nova and he's going to try to protect her. And they're going to basically
we don't
push
know that this minute. We find out the protection next minute.
Is that the next?
Yeah, because I had my notes in here. So this whole time he's not known her name, and then
is this not the minute where they ask him about Nova?
Yeah, and he goes...
Okay, well, I'm sorry. What I should say is the bravado which he throws out is, to me, a smokescreen. He's trying to protect her. And there's a lot of oddness in how he performs at this point, because there should be the crescendo of a performance should be, if I'm going to have bravado, then I should back away before I crumble under the pressure of it. And he throws his head in his hand at an odd time where there isn't the need for him to go, oh my God, it's too much. That moment should come after this.
I definitely have a note specifically about the head and hands later on when other things are happening and later on this week. And I'm like, this might have been a more appropriate use of that physicality in the scene.
I find this 5-minute stretch almost impossible to talk about 1 minute in time without kind of going, okay, you got to kind of look here. It's just, we talked before about, namely think about when that gorilla chased them through the woods and shot at the bird and how that was cut incorrectly. I don't know that they could have cut this any differently because it does feel like they shot it intentionally this way, but it's almost wrong because of that. There are so many places where this should have pushed him to this, that this should have pushed him to that.
So we have the first image of Taylor starting at the end of the last minute and kind of moving into this minute, and he's on some type of like iron railing.
Yeah.
Is that from something? Was that a scene from an earlier
No,
shot?
From
No,
this
because-
movie.
So are we supposed to assume that he's in some type of
Prison?
jail
That's
or
what
prison?
I thought. That's what I
Because
assumed.
then I got confused because then it started showing other scenes of Taylor at other moments. And the
like when he
script
fell through the rocks, I think.
the script specifically
Yeah.
says, there springs up almost simultaneously an image of Taylor clipped from the approach to New York sequence of the film's opening. 4 images show him with Nova, and the 5th shows him approaching the ice face alone. So they specifically wanted that weird scene where we see him like kind of fall into the ice face.
Yeah.
And I don't know why the Inquisitors were sharing that information, what we're supposed to glean from this moment. We should just, seeing Taylor should have been enough.
Since it's new footage of Taylor, I think they're trying to tell us that Taylor didn't die and they know what's happened to him.
So-
I think that's key. I think what they want us
Okay.
to know is that they know what happened to him. This is where one of the rare times I'm ever going to say, gee, I know what happens here, and I'm not going to say it because I don't want to go there for Sean. But I agree with you. That's a definite odd choice to put in things that have already occurred. They don't make any sense to the moment. But then again, projecting what's going on with Taylor in that way is an odd choice as well, because really the better choice, we talk about the flow of the scene, the rhythm of it, why they're projecting behind him and not projecting in front of themselves, where they're looking down and they look up and he'd be like, do you know something about Taylor? He should be asking them. His job is to find Taylor. It should be whenever they should create suspicion with their glances, their thoughts, whatever, that make him ask these questions that they want to deter him from it.
We talk about James Franciscus coming in and wanting to kind of beef up the role, and this is definitely a part that would have been a little more interesting to see.
Agreed.
Him not necessarily play the victim, but turn it on them. Taylor would not have allowed himself to get played a victim like this. He would have turned around and been asking them questions. And Brent gets a little in there, but not aggressively enough.
That's true. You think about what he did with Zaius and how many times he stood up to that.
Right.
And, even in the moments of private with Zaius where he understood it was a little, hey, let's all pull back the veneer of all this and let's just talk monkey to man. And Brent doesn't have that approach. And I know ANSA does not pick the brightest bulbs there are, but at the same time, he does not treat the moment like I am here for a reason. I'm now trapped here. I want to find out what's going on. He doesn't treat it that way at all.
And we've got telepathic humans in robes, and I'm like, this could be my way out.
I could use these people to my
This
advantage.
could be this. I'm not savages. I'm not dealing with talking apes. This could be something important to me.
Right.
So he says, he reveals that his skipper is dead and that he's all alone. And then we get the Mendez kind of questioning, and Nova appears behind him on the wall, and he goes, Nova, what's that? A star, a galaxy. And you think that he's trying to protect her.
I do.
Now, other than the scene where
Cornelius and
Zira name her in front of him, does he know?
See, that's I didn't know.
Her
Yes,
name's
I
Nova?
think he does. I think immediately.
He picked that up when Zira goes.
So we're also asking
Nova.
for an obviously linear line of logic in the script that we've already said, look, got hacked and whacked quite a bit before they shot it. There was a mention of the name Nova. He at least has gleaned that. Why else, if not, to me, would he be like, I don't know her? It's very macho,
Yeah.
I don't know her. And then he crumbles to it later. He acknowledges in a later minute that he does know her. So he knows the name Nova. He's acting
He's
this
trying
way.
to protect her.
Right.
He just ditched her outside the cathedral.
Well,
'cause
that's-
he,
Well,
like,
it's because he was cuckoo pants because of the
He had to walk
telepathy.
backwards into
I know, but it's just kind of a weird like I just dropped her, so I'm assuming she's safe. So I'm just going to pretend that she's not around.
He came from the Taylor School of loving, lots of loving.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And so he kicks his women aside.
Lots of loving, but no
so
love.
interestingly, the moment where he says my skipper's dead, I'm all alone, and the images of Nova pop behind him, they were supposed to actually be projected on the wall by each different Inquisitor. So, for example, the Fat Man, instantly the images of Taylor on the projection wall are supplanted by 5 images of Nova. She is projected by the Fat Man, pulling herself through the octagonal air vent. By Albina, asleep in Brent's arms on the beach in the square. By Mendez, hammering on the outside of the cathedral's double door. by Caspe being seized and removed by the guards. The only one that we really see is her and Brent together kind of at the octagonal Vare vent.
Yeah.
And we see her being removed by the guards. But I don't get the sense that the individual Inquisitors are projecting each one of those visions.
No, you don't get that. And so, because